In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this vector portrait using Adobe Illustrator. So in part one, I'm going to show you how to do just the outlines, the black outlines. I'm going to start off with a new document that's letter sized. Make it 8.5 by 11. You can make it either portrait or landscape. RGB color, raster effects 300. Say OK. The first thing I need to do is go to File, Place, and put in my photo of Jimi Hendrix. Then I'm going to trace. So I put it in there and position it. And then I'm going to lock this layer so that I can't select it by accident and make a new layer. Layer, new layer. And this is where I'm going to do my outlines. Say OK. Alright, if you want to lower the opacity of the photograph, you can just go to the layer options and dim the images like that. That way you can see your black outlines a little more. Alright, I'm going to make a brush first. So I'm going to get an ellipse tool and click on my page. Make it 8 by 0.02 inches. And it needs to be filled in with no stroke and a fill of black. Oops. Make it a fill of black without any stroke. Alright, and that's going to be my brush. So then I'm going to go up into the window menu and open brushes. Click on the plus to make a new brush. Make it an art brush. Say OK. And then I'm going to name it and then leave all the default settings that are already there like that. Right, so now I'm ready to try using my brush. So I'm going to double click on it and put the fidelity almost all the way to the right. Let me close up some of these windows. Alright, so you need to zoom in. I'm going to delete that line that I used to make the brush with. Zoom in really far and then just start drawing the outlines of the face. It's important to make your paths close at the end, like these two lines should touch on the corners. It's not touching there, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a dot there so that it's closed. That will really save you a lot of work when you go to colorize it. If anything that's filled with the same color, if you keep the ends of it closed, it'll help the color from spilling out. So basically you just take your pen tool or your brush tool and just brush on all the main lines that you see on the face. Now when I did this nose, I didn't close in part of it. I had to go and fix it later. And one of his left nostril there, I didn't close it. So I had to do that off camera. Alright, so I'm going to draw all the hairs in for the eyebrows. I'm going to speed some of this up and cut some of it out because I think you get the gist of what you're supposed to do here. So I don't want to bore you with watching me. Alright, so after we do that, I have all the outlines done. I'm going to go to Select All, then go to Object, Expand Appearance. That turns all those stroked lines into lines that don't have any stroke on them, so they're easy to work with. Then go to Pathfinder and click on the very first one, Unite. Alright, so when you go to Control Y, you can see the paths now. Everything has an inside and an outside to the outlines, and that'll make it easy to colorize. Alright, now that we have that part done, we're ready to colorize. I'm going to open our Pathfinder. We're going to duplicate our outline layer and lock it. Keep that one at the top and we're not going to touch that one. Then go on this other outline layer and we're going to draw a big rectangle around the whole thing. And that is how we're going to start colorizing his face. So I'm going to choose a color, no stroke, and fill it with some type of skin tone. All right, and then select all of it. So click off everything, then go to select all. Now that everything is selected, I'm going to go to the Pathfinder and choose Divide. Pathfinder is in Windows, in case you don't know. Click on Divide. Alright, now you can get your direct selection tool, the white tool, and just click on the corner of the rectangle and delete it. And now you can start changing the color of all these things to be what you want. So I'm going to click on his hair and make it black. Click in on the nostrils. Unfortunately, I fixed that one part that was open and closed it. Fill that with black. If you're trying to select any of these and color them in and they don't work, like it stays the same color, press delete. It means that there's just two copies of the same thing. But that's not going to happen to me yet until I start to use some white. You can see what happens. So just keep clicking on each of these with a direct selection tool and changing the colors to be what you want. You get a better color for the lips. So I'm going to click on the eye reflection and make it white. And here's where I go. I try to click on that and change the color. It wouldn't let me. So I just pressed delete, and then what it was an extra copy of it on there. That happens sometimes, so if you can't change the color, just press delete. So you see it stayed beige, so I just deleted it and then it was white. So I'm going to shift click on multiple things. You can change more than one shape at a time by holding the shift key. Make sure you're using the direct selection tool to do all this. Alright, so I have the main things colored in. Now I'm ready to do like some shading in different colors on here. So I'm going to go to my photo layer, turn that on. I'm going to bring that up to the top. And I'm just going to study like where the shadows and highlights are in his face so that I can draw them. And I'm going to go on the outlines. Let me get the pencil tool and put the fidelity about halfway or 3/4, either way is fine. And I'm going to use the pencil tool for the rest of this shapes that I'm going to draw. Actually, I'm going to lower the opacity of the photo layer, dim. And I think I'm going to drag the photo layer behind the outlines. That way I can actually see where my outline is, so that when I use the pencil, I'm staying on my outlines. So get the pencil tool and then just start drawing some of the shadows and highlights and stuff on the face. Try to stay inside the line, my outline, as much as possible. And then I'm going to fill it with just a little bit darker color than what the other skin tone was. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the photo layer while I do the rest of this. It's just good to know like where to put the shadows and highlights, but I think I already kind of know, so I'm going to guess from here on out. So I'm just going to continue to use the pencil tool to draw shapes that I can colorize darker and lighter to just give it some more depth. I'm using the eyedropper tool to copy colors that I've already used. You don't have to worry about doing this perfectly yet because you can go back in later. I'll show you how to use the direct selection tool to clean up any of your line work here. So I'm just taking the pencil tool and continuing to draw shapes that I'm going to make shadows and highlights out of. Trying to follow along the black outlines as best as I can, but I will show you how to clean those up because it's impossible to do it perfectly. If you need to turn your photo layer on and off to see where your highlights and shadows are, that's fine. You can do that. I kind of memorize where I need to draw things, but you can always refer back to that. Use the eyedropper to match the colors. Now I'm just going to draw one of the highlights on his nose. Alright, so basically that's how you do the whole thing. Just keep adding shadows and highlights in different colors and adding to it. I didn't film all of it because it's boring to watch me do that. Oh, I do want to show you how to correct. When you go out of the lines, get the direct selection tool and you can edit these anchor points here. It's good to practice using editing the Bezier curves anyway. So just get your direct selection tool and click on a point that's on the path. You can close these handles and move the handles and the anchor points around. So it's good practice using how to do that anyway, and just try to clean up some of the line work. Oops. Alright, so basically I just kept doing that and adding things until I got my final result.